Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Tuned In with Jim Cummings. I'm joined, as always, with producer Brendan Dando. How are you doing today, sir?
Always fantastic to be here. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. How are you doing today, Jim Cummings?
Hello,
the star of our show,
Christopher.
How are you
Brendan.
doing today?
And I mean, today, are you kidding? Today is a fantastic day. One of my old pals, you know him, you love him. He's got a voice that, if you had one of those old electric football sets that operated on vibration, and you would put the little football players on the grid there, and then you would turn it on, and it would vibrate. It would go, and you hope that yours go. Steve can do that with his voice.
It's not coming out of here, though. So.
It's not okay. Well, that's why you get the big bucks.
Exactly, baby. Yeah, use what you got. Use what the Lord gave you.
Well, thanks for being
Steve
here,
Blum,
pal.
how are you doing today?
Thing.
I'm swelling, and sweller. Yes, thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Swollen. Yeah, swollen. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being had.
Well, you know, I'm your giant fan, probably your biggest. So
Likely story.
This is always an honor and a privilege.
Did Marigold tell you to say that?
Yeah, she's paying me behind the scenes. So apparently
She's
you're
doing you what?
Nothing at all.
Oh,
Nothing
okay.
at all. She's baking bread or something in the other room. I don't know what she's doing. She's become very domestic in the last few days.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah. Things slow down. She gets creative.
Not
You much of a
moment too
chef,
soon.
Steve?
Well, I do cook a lot. But lately Mary has been getting into baking like sourdough bread and bagels and amazing things. I think she's doing English muffins right now.
English muffins, not bad.
Yeah. But I cook. I'm a cook.
What kind of dish though? So she's baking. What when you're cooking? What are you putting on the oven or in the oven?
Well, last night I did some ribeyes and some smashed potatoes and everything on the grill. Fantastic. It was really delicious.
Now,
I make pretty much every ethnicity of food. I have to because I'm allergic to garlic, so I have to be able to make things that I love without the garlic in it. Most restaurants won't. So
Garlic is the best ingredient for everything too. I feel so sorry.
I know. I developed an allergy at age 40.
wow.
Yeah, getting old ain't easy, kids.
I put it in my oatmeal.
That's good.
See, that's
Really,
worse because
that's
you
an
know how
interesting
good it
one.
tastes, and now you still can't have it. That's really annoying.
I know, and I still love the smell. I'm interested in the poo oatmeal. I think that would be pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I think you're onto something here, pal.
Ooh. Yeah. Well, you could put honey in it. I do know that.
You could.
I have done that.
You could.
Man. Well, that's so good. I'm so glad you're here, pal. Thank you. Thank you so much. He's taking a break from paradise, by the way. Should we tell everybody like your exact address or should we just say somewhere in the
Sure,
South
just
Pacific?
everyone come on over. Yeah, I'm in the middle of the big island in Hawaii.
Yeah,
and,
yes, you are.
Yeah, it is amazing here. I was able to move here 3 years ago now, and used to live in LA, and we gave up everything for this dream, and fortunately it worked out. After the pandemic, we were all working from home, so we thought since we can do it from anywhere, might as
can
well
be
accelerate the long-term dream. So
that's
sold
always been
everything
something you wanted to do. Move to Hawaii.
since I was 12 years old.
Wow.
Didn't think it was possible. We bought some land years ago, really cheap, and have just been sitting on it as the long-term dream, and it finally came into reality. So here we are sitting on top of an extinct volcano. We live on a volcano, and we have a view of 3 other volcanoes from here.
Wow.
Are you a surfer?
I am not, but I'm a scuba diver.
Okay.
So
Even better.
we love it. It's great.
Oh my
Mary
God.
goes,
You are in heaven then.
oh, it's amazing. It's some of the best scuba diving anywhere. It's amazing. Yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
come across? What do you come across when you scuba dive in Hawaii?
Well, a few days ago, we saw a mating pair of frogfish, which is kind of unusual.
Wow.
It's the fish that has sort of like a little tendril on its forehead.
that little
uses it
guy.
as a fishing
Yeah.
lure. Yeah, and they just grab everything. They're amazing. And usually they sort of walk along the bottom. We saw some free swimming in a parade. Eels, mantas, eagle rays, octopus, and every kind of fish you can imagine. Yeah, it's a pretty diverse ecosystem here, even though the coral is suffering, but we do have some beautiful areas still. So
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
we're able to see quite a bit out here. We go night snorkeling with the mantas, which is kind of amazing. They come right up to you and barrel roll right in front of you. It's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you got to come out, buddy.
Yeah.
Come and stay with us. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jim's
Okay,
We
scuba
got a room
diving.
waiting for you.
Excuse me, guys. I have to go.
Yeah. Okay, I'll see you here in 5 hours.
Yeah, 5
All
or
right.
6 hours.
I'll
Have
pick
you
up at the
ever been
airport.
spooked by something while scuba diving?
Not while scuba diving so much. I was spooked when I was on what they called a snorkel safari, where they took us out about 7 miles out, and they dropped us in the water with a bunch of pelagic sharks. And the people that we went with weren't very mindful of the people they were dropping in the water. So I found myself the last one off the boat because I was helping other people, and I was there by myself in 2,000 feet of water with a bunch of white tip oceanic sharks. And yeah, they were a little bit scary because they were very curious and they're very aggressive. Yeah. And then once I was on a paddleboard and a hunting tiger shark came blasting at me after some fish at a pretty high rate of speed.
Okay.
First time I'd ever been on a paddleboard outside the bay.
And then
so.
you attained an even higher rate of speed.
Yes, I did.
and cleverly put that brown stain behind you to throw him off.
Gonna say the contents of my stomach ended up in my shorts, and off I went.
Yes, and he was pissed off. He goes, "That guy. Well, if that's an appetizer, I'm out of here. Forget it."
Yeah, I really thought this was gonna taste good, but nah.
No,
Yeah.
Jesus.
Were you wearing your brown shorts?
I was not. I was not prepared. I had no idea. Yeah. But most of the time, when you're scuba diving, it's really pretty safe.
Oh, you
honestly.
bet. Yeah.
It's safer than snorkeling, I think, because you can kind of see what's out there and coming at you. And when you're
snorkeling's
snorkeling,
only so much fun because you can't really go down.
well, you can. Well, you can.
Yeah, but I can't because my head explodes. I need a tank of air.
Yeah.
I need a security blanket.
Yeah.
I'm not bad at that, but
I just can't hold my breath long enough to really see the good stuff. If you see something really cool, it's hard to stay down there unless you're a free diver.
Yeah.
So I do like scuba diving for that. And also, there are a lot of creatures that are spooked by people coming from above. If you go to their level and look them in the eye, they'll just hang out with you. It's really cool. So,
Are there any
especially
spots you can
octopus.
recommend in particular for scuba diving?
Well, we go in an area called Puako here, and there's a local boat company. It's actually this company right here, Blue Wilderness. I'll give them a little plug. Blue Wilderness. I think it's Blue Wilderness Dive Adventures, and they've all become family to us. And they have a little inflatable boat that about 30 feet long that goes out of the Puako launch ramp, and we go out maybe half a mile. And there's a whole bunch of little mooring balls there, and they just tie up to each one. Each one has its own structures underneath and specialty things. There's an area that's a turtle cleaning station, so you go there and you'll see 5 to 10 turtles being cleaned by fish. These beautiful fish picking off all of the parasites and stuff.
no kidding.
Amazing. You can just hang out with them. Yeah, it's really cool. And
That
caves
sounds
you can dive
terrifying
through.
to me. I'm not gonna lie.
And all you can eat.
Awesome. All you can eat, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I go in there and I chew a
Chris
few
goes,
things off the
"Hell
turtle
no."
shell too.
That sounds terrifying. That sounds like my nightmare.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
So
You
fish,
got to try it
fish with
at least
teeth.
once.
You know, the goldfish going moop, moop, moop. That's not bad. But
No.
fish with teeth.
Yeah, but you need them to get those barnacles off. So you got to wrestle them off the shell. So.
Ooh, yeah. Well, okay. Note to self: no barnacles when we visit Steve. Okay.
I
This
noticed
is a very
you
informative.
You only
podcast
gave
we're
half
doing.
effort on that barnacle sound, chewing them off, because I know you can do animal sounds much better than that.
But underwater, that's what it sounds like. It's more like on land. It would be like it'd be more like that.
That would be.
That was
That's what I
terrifying.
was expecting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I greet Mary every morning.
Yada yada.
Hi, honey.
Well, thanks again for being on the show with us today.
Thanks for having me, and good night. All right, I've soiled the microphone enough.
Oh man. That's
So,
so
it's-
cool.
What are you working on at the moment, Steve?
I'd have to kill you if I told you. Well, I
okay.
actually had something that came out today.
Kill him anyway.
Yeah. Kill him now. I've done a lot of work with the hip hop artist Logic and done a lot of vocal stuff on his albums as a voice actor, not as a singer. He writes these stories. He had these 3 albums culminating in an album called Ultra 85 that was just released yesterday. And so he asked me to narrate his audiobook. He wrote a companion audiobook that kind of completes the story. There was this through line of sci-fi tale that he wrote for the albums. and sort of a concept album type thing. And all the albums did incredibly well out there.
Oh,
And
wow.
my character was this sci-fi starship captain. And he took his keyboard player and shoved him in the booth with me and made him my partner in this saga. And so we finally finished the saga, and it was released this morning, and it's called Ultra 85.
Wow.
No way.
Yeah, so it's my first audiobook. I've never done an
That's
audiobook
wonderful.
before. So yeah, it was really fun, and I got to play all the characters in the book.
How did
Oh,
you
that's
come to
great.
meet Logic?
He grew up in a very rough neighborhood in Maryland, and gang household, lots of drugs and violence and all kinds of stuff. And the one thing that was his saving grace was playing video games and watching anime. And I happened to be in a lot of the
And
product
that's
that
where
he
you came
consumed. Yeah, and it soothed him back in those days and kind of got him through the really hard times. And so when he got his first record deal with Def Jam Records for his first big album, Under Pressure, they told him that he could bring in anybody he wants, you know, as long as they would agree to the fee and whatever, and he'd put him on his albums.
Wow.
So he called my agent and asked if I'd be interested in working on a sci-fi hip-hop album. And I said, I don't know what the hell that even means. And this kid is 25 years old. I had never heard of him. And she said, well, just go and meet him. He's a really nice kid. He lives right down the street from you. And so I met him
go
for
wrong.
a cheesesteak sandwich and just fell in love with the kid. He's amazing.
Wow.
And one of the most prolific artists I've ever known. And he's done world tours and sold out some of the biggest stadiums in the world. And still one of the most humble, wonderful people I've ever known. He's the guy who did that 1-800 number for the suicide prevention hotline. He was on the Grammys, and that was his big claim to fame in the pop market anyway, once he did that crossover. But his idea was really to bring his science fiction and gaming fandom together with the hip-hop world. And there are people in both of those communities that love the other thing, but really felt uncomfortable talking about it. And so to do a panel with him at New York Comic Con where you see, you know, people streaming in full cosplay and a bunch of
Right.
hip hop people, you know, swagging in the room, and all of a sudden they're having conversations like chocolate and peanut butter coming together. It's like, I didn't know you like that. I didn't know you like that. I couldn't talk to anybody in my family about
yeah,
that.
man.
But it's great. He's just a genius at bringing people together and telling stories. So yeah, so it was just a quirk of fate that I happened to be right place, right time, and he's become one of the closest people in my life. He's awesome.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Tell
And he
him I
gave me
said
this
hey.
hat too. I will do that. He
Seriously.
loves you too, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
God bless.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I'm surprised it was your first audiobook. I feel like audiobooks would be the easiest gig for a voice actor.
Well, they are if you love reading.
Yeah.
But most of them you have to read for 8 hours a day, and
Yeah.
you're only paid by the content the finished content that you supply, which means you have to edit your own crap too. And I ain't got that kind of time. I can do 3 sessions on animation or video games in that amount of time for more money. But when Bobby asked me to do it, I just said yes, and we were able to do it in 2-hour increments. So
that's
it
not
fit
bad.
into my schedule, and it was fun, and it was material I was familiar with. And I got to play my own character in it too, which is really fun.
And Bobby is Logic for anybody who doesn't know.
Bob, he is, yes.
Yeah.
Bobby is Logic.
Wow.
Yes.
That's logical.
Do you think audiobooks is something you might look at in the future, or is this just a one and done for Logic?
If I could do them like this, if I could do them in 2-hour segments, absolutely, it's awesome. But most do not let you do that. You have to crank out that material, and you're only paid for what you deliver. And I'm too old for that shit. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I couldn't do that either. I mean, especially the editing part. That would be like, no, I'm on this side of the glass.
yeah.
You know, there are
Yeah.
people that do that and infinitely better than I. So
Well, and
I hear
it
you.
takes so much patience and time to do that, and I respect engineers so much for being willing to do that kind of work, because I
For
don't
being
want to.
able.
Yeah,
in my
I mean,
spot.
I do a lot of editing
Yeah.
for my auditions and things, but I don't like it. I'd rather just do the voice stuff and send it off. So
Yeah, for sure.
a lot
So
more
I'm assuming
fun.
he was a fan of what Cowboy Bebop and whatnot.
Cowboy Bebop and tons of video games, Akira, Samurai Champloo, a lot of the old anime stuff that we worked on back in the day.
Legend of Korra.
Spike's the big one. for
Legend
you,
of
isn't it?
Korra. Spike is a big one for me. Yeah. Spike changed my life in every possible way. So that was my first leading role. And that's where I met Mary Elizabeth, too. My wife, Mary Elizabeth
Really?
McGlynn, was my director on that show
I'll be.
25-something years ago. And we were just friends. I had met her on that show. It was her first directing gig, too. And so we kind of grew up together in the business as
Wow.
buddies. And then
And you were
as
Spike Spiegel.
Spike Spiegel. Yeah.
Spiegel.
It's the Jewish version.
catalog.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Spike
great.
Spiegelman. Hi, how are you? Have a bagel.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Spike Spiegel, the bounty hunter, is a space bounty hunter. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Which is,
you've gotten around. I mean, you've been on a lot of screens, man.
well, you got to sleep around to
electrical
be
car.
successful in this
That's
business.
true.
Jim. You
That's
know
so
that.
true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, one of my favorites. I know you've been Sub-Zero
Yes.
on Mortal Kombat. I think everybody in the universe is hip to Mortal Kombat. I don't know how you can breathe without knowing everything about it.
Yeah, well, I know nothing.
Because if I
about it.
know,
I'm that one guy. Yeah. I'm the one
I
guy.
know. So it's pretty pervasive.
Well, I used
So you
to
never
play it
played
in,
the game?
in arcades before there were
Yeah.
any words. I used to play it in arcades when I was a kid.
Me too.
And since the advent of these complicated game controllers, and since I really don't have opposable thumbs, I stopped playing many years ago.
Yeah.
But the new cinematic quality of these games is insanely good and uber violent. Also, they actually rip out the spines. They show the destruction happening
Yes,
inside the
they
body.
do.
It's horrifying.
It's
And
incredible.
you play Baraka,
Yeah.
correct?
Baraka, the most difficult voice I've ever done in my
I was
whole
just
career.
about to ask that. That was my leading up question. That has to be a rough voice on your throat.
Yeah.
Can you give us just a taste?
Well, Baraka started out with little tiny one-liners, which was fine because his voice is like this.
Yes.
And then they started writing soliloquies for him. I was
Perfect.
telling full stories in that voice. And it was brutal. 7 years ago, our forefathers. It was just horrible. And they don't alter that sound at all. That's the sound that went to print. And so I had to get it like that every time. And I can last maybe an hour, 2 hours tops
Sure.
doing that. It's just brutal.
Yeah. Those are
But
the
it looks
ones
great.
That I would, whenever I would get something even remotely like that, well, Taz would be a good example. I said, okay, yeah, I love it. I love being Taz. Can we do it Friday afternoon? So, because that way you're going home. You got 2
Yep.
days to heal.
Yep.
And then Monday you're back and you relatively normal. So, I don't know. Maybe just a little tip from my
Yeah.
buddy here.
Yeah.
That's insane. Wow.
Oh my God. I got to do Taz a couple of years ago on a thing called Quest for Burger. It was a little one-off thing.
Oh, wow.
First thing I asked was, why isn't Jim doing this? And they said, well, this is a completely different version. It's just a straight-to-video thing. And
That's what they always say.
but dude, I was channeling you as best I could.
Thank you.
It's a fun character. It's so much
Can
fun.
we hear
yeah.
your Taz?
Oh, I can't get the burp out.
Oh, that's okay.
There you go. You got
That
to
was
end
a
it
good
with
one.
burp.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the punctuation.
Ladies
Yeah.
and gentlemen. Yes.
But we actually had Taz speaking, and they decided they want him sort of sounding like Harvey Firestein. It was ridiculous.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, yeah,
Have you ever had
Yeah.
to speak as Taz, Jim?
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Taz,
Before you bury me in the cold, cold ground.
Yes.
I'm hoarse right now, but yeah, that was it. And I could tell you a quick story. When I auditioned for that, the great Art Vitello was the guy bringing it to the screen, and Noel Blanc came in, and because he was Noel Blanc, he was Mel's son, and he said, well, and they had lines, and they had Taz happy, Taz not happy, Taz insouciant, or all these emotions, and he said, well, Taz really only has 5 sounds, and he goes, oh, really? Okay, and he goes, wah, and and so he said, okay, well, thank you very much, thank you, so good of you to come here today, and goodbye.
Yeah.
And so, I'm glad he stunk up the room, because that's how I got the gig.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well,
Yeah. But don't
you
tell anybody,
portrayed-
because that's probably not kosher for me to say. Too
Yeah,
late.
nobody's going to watch this, right?
No,
No.
no, indeed. Yeah.
So how frequently can you burp on command then, Steve? Can you just make it happen all the time? Or is that just something you
I
have
can.
to...
Yeah.
Really? Can you do that, Jim?
No.
Yeah.
Is
Some
that
of us
just something
stubborn.
a voice actor is able to do by controlling your voice box or whatever it is?
Yeah.
Just con-
Well, that's how I met my wife. I went up there and I went,
Was
And
she
she said-
burping or were you?
oh, gosh. She said, tell me more, you romantic rascal, you.
My God.
No, it's...
My wife can outburp me.
Yeah.
I believe she's a hell of a gal.
unbelievable.
I love her.
She is just unbelievable.
Well,
she looks
I
so
was gonna-
pretty and
I was
that
going to
stuff
bring
like
this up. Dude, she's got a monster Schwarzenegger.
that. Yeah, she does.
I mean, it's really good. And she does that. It's a very, and I can't even do it. But it's really good. You're going, wow, and you're a girl.
Yeah.
And a really pretty girl. And it's
Yeah.
like, woo, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
right. You go.
I think she did that with us on Twisted Tunes once.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about
It's
right.
great. It's so sexy and all of these
Yeah.
kinds of things. It's
Yes,
so
yes.
beautiful. Honey, come to the bedroom now. I have something for you.
Yeah.
It's oh God. She makes me howl. She is so
Yes.
You know you've met the one when she's willing to burp in front of you, though, right?
funny.
Yeah.
No,
Pull
how-
my finger.
No, the way I knew that I had picked the right one is that we had gotten these not action figures, but big statues from Sideshow Collectibles.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Are you familiar with them? Yeah.
Yeah.
So they found out that she was a big fan of Alien. So they sent her an Aliens one. They sent me a Wolverine. She let me put my Wolverine on a Lazy Susan in the middle of the dining room table. And I thought, oh, any woman that lets me do that, that's it. I'm marrying you right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And her Alien was sitting right next to it. So
That's cool.
yeah.
A match made in heaven or
Yeah,
somewhere.
absolutely.
But how long did it stay there for, though?
It stayed there until we moved.
Oh, wow.
Actually, so until we moved from Hawaii, we used to play D&D on that table, so we would have to move it off the table to play D&D. But we're big old nerds, so
No,
yeah.
wait,
But
where,
we have
where are you now? Are you not in Hawaii anymore?
no. I'm in Hawaii now, but this
Oh,
was in her house in Burbank when I was shacking up with her in her place in
gotcha.
Burbank before we moved.
Gotcha.
So I used to have a studio at my house, and I decided just to give that up and let other people use that. And I moved in with her. And in Burbank, it was a lot closer to all the studios. So
Sure.
I lived with her there for 4 or 5 years and took over a big part of the house with all my action figures and ridiculousness.
Yeah.
And she loved it.
You too, huh?
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
I got crap. I got a fucking giant sword in here.
Why not?
let's see.
So, yeah, because I can.
Wow.
What sword is
Because I
that?
can.
What's that from?
That's from
Final
Zabuza
Destination.
Oh, no, of
from
course.
Naruto. Yeah.
Naruto.
And then I have these just in case I do a Wolverine session. So,
Yeah.
always good to have the
That
claws at the
is
ready.
cool.
do you actually wear that when you're doing the
Metal too.
voice sometimes to get into character?
I did. I played Wolverine recently
Oh, yeah?
for a game. And when I was doing the fight scenes, I actually put these on. And it hurts. It actually hurts wearing these, which is appropriate because Wolverine, when the claws come out, it hurts every single time. He has a healing factor, but it hurts
Snicked.
every single time. Yeah, so it kind of put me in that moment. I just felt, oh, I'm in pain. This is great. So it just made me roar and
Was that for
dive into-
Fortnite?
Oh no! It's for another game that actually they wouldn't tell me the title of it. It's a brand new one. This is just
Oh.
like a week ago, so it's something different.
Yeah, they do that all the time, don't they? They don't.
do.
They won't tell you the name of it.
Not that I would remember anyway,
Yeah,
because I'm old.
or not that you would tell everybody in the world
Yeah.
like I do.
That's something I want to ask you with the amount of credits that you've accumulated in your career. How often are you recording voices?
Well, I audition every day.
Every
And
day.
Often 7 days a week. In fact, I'm about to leave for a convention tomorrow morning, and I bring a whole recording rig with me, a whole full Pro Tools rig with me.
Yeah.
So I do Toon'd every week for Adult Swim, and so often I don't get the sides for that until I'm on a plane, and so I've got to be able to record. I've recorded in bathrooms. I've recorded in what do they call the lactation rooms that they have at airports
Yeah,
now?
yeah.
so you're really milking it.
Yeah, I really, baby, for all
what I
it's
did?
worth.
You like
For all
that?
it's worth.
For
I
all
see
it's
what you
worth.
did there. See, that's why Jim gets the big buck.
That's what I'm
that's why you
talking
get that
about.
big buck.
Talk
baby.
amongst yourselves.
Yeah. No, but that's a big misconception, especially from the younger voice actors coming in. They think, when you get to be a certain point in your career, And I've been at this 35 years, Jim. You're probably even longer than that.
Right there, yeah.
I still audition every day. The audition
Every
really is
day,
the job.
wow.
You got to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to keep
I
doing
feel,
it.
all of a
Otherwise,
sudden, I feel like I'm slacking.
well, I do them over and over again because I can't remember. So it might just be
that's
one
good.
audition.
Well,
I
you
don't
got
know.
to say from the time that you were, because I saw that you were very nervous and very, I guess, intimidated, if that's the right word, when you were first starting in your career.
Big time.
And would you say that feeling is shifted in your 35 years? It has to have.
Yeah, it's confidence that just builds with experience.
Well,
But
yeah,
I
you're
remember,
Steve Blum now.
dude, I remember being in the room with you, Jim, for the first time, and I was thinking, oh my God, I'm in a room with royalty now. I better not screw this up.
Oh, geez.
And just watching guys like Jim who can just take a piece of copy and bring it to life, even if it's badly written, he will reconstruct this thing on the spot and just do perfect takes of stuff. And I just sat there with my mouth open thinking, I'm never going to get to that level. I'm still not, because there are guys
you
like
put
you
me
out
in the
there.
rearview mirror now, so you're doing fine.
Dude, you're a genius. You'll always be one of my heroes.
Well, thank you.
That was intimidating. Working with guys like him was really intimidating because he's so good.
What was that on?
So good.
When you first worked with Jim?
I don't remember what show that was. It was a while ago. Might have been like one of the old Marvel shows or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
maybe.
Do you know if or remember if there was a turning point where you went from being nervous and intimidated or anything like that, of being in the room of people, who had these illustrious careers? Do you remember a turning point where it was like, okay, now I'm safe. Now I've made it. Now I feel confident. I've built my confidence over the years, and now I'm right where I need to be?
I don't know if I can pinpoint that to one place, but I can pinpoint it to a time, a benchmark time in the career where I worked on Scooby-Doo for the first time. Met Frank Welker and Casey Kasem and Grey DeLisle was on that show. It was amazing. And Frank was a hero of mine. He's a hero of all of ours. Amazing performer. And like I was intimidated with Jim, I was very intimidated being in that room. He was one of my childhood heroes. And at the break, I came up and nervously introduced myself and fanboyed all over him. And he goes, you know what? You deserve to be here. You did the auditions. They hired you because you deserve to be in this room. And you got to own that, dude. You got to own it. And the other thing was that I think, was it Rob Paulson or somebody said, you got to know your worth too. And so I would undercut myself on every job that I worked on. And I would, especially at conventions too. I would do conventions for free, and I got advice from some of these luminary people in the business, and I think it's really the people in the business that got me over that, because they made me feel like I belonged. I felt like I had found my family, and most of my friends are voice actors because it's just the best community of people I've ever known.
I agree. Yeah, and they're I could tell you. Well, you don't need me to tell you this, but they weren't sitting around waiting for me, or they weren't sitting around waiting for you or anybody. They weren't sitting around waiting for Mel Blanc. Okay, maybe Mel.
Maybe,
but
Mel. Yeah.
but no. And if you got there, it's because you should be there, and that goes for all our friends out there listening. If you do your very, very, very best, and I always tell everybody, do exactly what they say that they wanted, and then throw them a curveball, and ad-lib a little bit, give them something they didn't think that they were listening for. Like I do a character named Don Carnage from Tailspin, and he was a swashbuckling pirate, and everybody, they told me everybody came in and did Brits. Well, I don't know whether you're going to get that bloke over there, and so I did him as if he was from Cuba or the Caribbean, because they had pirates too. Pirates of the...
Sure did.
Come on.
I see what you did there.
So I made him from down there. And everybody says, who the hell is that? And I go, I don't know. But if you're in the Caribbean, you'll hear people talk like this. And then you have to give them your gold, because they have a gun and they're pirates.
Yes.
And so you throw them that curveball. And that's what I always tell people. It's because if you give them what they want, then they can you got that out of the way. Now here's what you really should do.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah. You can't
And,
say it like that, but
you can't
yes.
tell them. Yeah, don't put it in those words.
Yeah. Yeah, your stuff kind of sucked. Here's something better.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't
yeah.
like that too much.
Yeah, this one is suction free. Try this one on.
Do they ever admit that
never know.
yours was better?
Nah,
Sometimes.
they don't have to.
No,
I
they
mean,
don't
if
have
If
to.
you get the job.
Every once in a while they do, if they're drunk. Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess if they use your line, then that's telling you, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's for
If
sure.
they use your ad lib,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
rare. They want to take credit for it anyway, most of the time. But there are some exceptions, though. There have been a few things. When I was working on Call of Duty, the main writer for that was this Scottish guy who would stay up all night drinking and write the funniest lines. And 90% of what that became was his. But occasionally we would throw in some crazy ad lib. And he'd go, oh, that was so much better than what I wrote in, 4 o'clock in the morning, pissing myself. That's great. Yeah, we're keeping that. I'm not going to credit you for it. I'm not going to pay you for it, but we're using it, you bastard.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's one of those rare instances where
Yeah.
they will, yeah.
I'm going golfing. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. Pretty good.
Yeah.
We didn't touch on the Star Wars link between you two, by the way.
Yes, Hondo.
I've got that there.
God.
Yes. Yeah, that was a
I feel
was
like
a
people are starting to
great,
truly
great time.
appreciate Hondo in the last couple of years in particular.
One of my
he
favorite
snuck in.
characters of all time.
He snuck in a few episodes here and there, and then just went away for a while.
Yeah.
And then I think they wrote. Well, Hondo started in the Clone Wars, and then when you guys started Rebels, it's my understanding that the fans said, "Well, let's drag him back in here." It's a couple of years later. He's a weak-way guy. He's not. It's not like he's, maybe he takes longer to age, and
Yeah.
so they gave him longer tusks. And it was just a lot of fun. And I remember one of my favorite things. I used to try and crack Steve up because I think I've said I do one line as written, and then I do one the way that it should be. And I was Touretting my way through the. Hold on, I've got it. Oh, there was something. He was reminiscing about this, that, or the other thing, with Zeb, and he's saying, well, I had to do this, and I had to, and then the next time I said, oh yes, the stories I could tell you, my friend, so many of them true. and he did the same thing that he just did now. That's great.
Yeah, it ruined my take. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I
right.
appreciate that. Oh, Carabas. Dialogue was so hard for me. English is my second language. God, it was so much fun. I loved Hondo. And all of us in the room, too, when you performed Hondo for the first time, all of us in the room went, oh, that's really good. I hope he gets more.
Oh yeah.
Everybody just fell in love with that. It was
Yeah.
so cool.
I lucked out on that one. That was a beautiful thing.
And then seeing your performance as Hondo at the Disney parks, too, was amazing.
That's pretty
Amazing.
wild.
Yeah.
I obviously I did it, but I've had people say, how do you do that all day long? And I go, come on, you didn't really just ask me that.
Well,
Come
they pay
on."
me very, very well.
Yeah, and he's 40 years old. What, dude? Come on. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, it's a Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run for those of you out there.
Yeah.
It's a Disney World, Disneyland, and Disney Plus. I don't know.
So
But
great.
yeah, it's fun stuff.
He's
Yeah,
essentially
it's
the
Zeb
face of the
free,
whole Star
but
Wars land.
yeah.
Yeah, and rightly so.
But were you a Star Wars fan before that, Steve? Obviously a huge Star Wars fan.
Oh yeah, I was there opening weekend, 1977. I think I saw it
No
4 or
kidding.
5 times. I kept sneaking back into the theater,
Yeah.
and I was an apathetic teen just coming out of high school. Hated everything, hated everyone. Didn't even go to my own graduation. And I remember sitting in that theater and seeing the cruiser come by right after the opening credits, or that opening scene, and hearing the THX sound for the first time, and the room is vibrating, our bodies are vibrating.
Yes.
And I was thinking, oh, this is something I really like. And I've had that fondness for it since then, since 17 years old. So to get to work in the Star Wars universe, it's a kid's dream come true. I think it's every kid's dream come true.
Yeah, I agree.
and getting to go up to the ranch, Jim, you've probably done this a number of times. Getting to go up to Skywalker Ranch and stay on the ranch is just mind blowing. You just walk through those hallowed halls, and I almost accidentally walked into George Lucas's office and found out later that had I done that, I probably would have been arrested because we weren't supposed to be there.
Yeah. Then you hear
Taylor
pew,
Gray and I
pew,
were there
pew,
together.
pew.
Yeah, pretty much. But
You did not want to hear that.
It never gets old though. But walking on into that room at Skywalker Sound too, and seeing where the orchestras recorded all of this incredible music for decades now, generations, for all these amazing movies. It was one of the most humbling experiences of my life. I turned into an 8-year-old again and just squeeing inside.
Wow.
It's incredible.
It's so
I
true.
still get that feeling every time we work on anything Star Wars.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Yeah. It transports you.
Yeah. And they're good people too. The people at Lucasfilm are just good, cool people to work with.
Yeah. So
And
so
they
true.
really care. They really care a lot.
Yeah.
Except that Filoni guy. What an
Yeah.
asshole. No, I'm kidding.
What a
The Filoni chip in my neck is starting to blink. Ow.
He's a turd socket, that's for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Great stuff. Yeah. I bugged him. I said, wait a minute, you wrote yourself into one of those, because remember he was riding in a TIE fighter. He was a pilot in one of the episodes.
Yes, he was.
And I thought, God, I want to do that.
Yeah.
If I could have one dream, one little wish list, it would be like do a walk on and have a line,
Hey,
so it'd be under 3. They wouldn't have to pay much at all, and then I could die a happy man.
Not too late.
Yeah.
He accepts bribes.
That's true. Okay. Yeah. He doesn't need them, but he'll still take them. Oh man.
So, Steve, I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
So, I saw an interview where you said that you were bullied as a kid growing up. What were you bullied for?
And by the way, no one can imagine that. Just for the record.
That's why I'm asking this question, because I can't imagine what you'd be bullied for.
Yeah, I was terrible at sports. I was overweight, super insecure, wasn't really good at anything, average at best at everything I did. And the bullies just saw me as a target. And I was a nice guy. I was a really nice kid. And the bullies saw that as a weakness. And so I would just get my butt kicked all the time, pretty much starting in early elementary school. And got beaten up over and over and over again in elementary school. And then in junior high, bullies picked on me too. I had dislocating kneecaps. I was playing sports and I blew out my knees. And so I was on crutches for a couple of years, and the bullies would actually kick the crutches out from under me. Because they thought it was funny. Yeah, it was terrible. It was just terrible. And also, because I was raised Jewish, I was persecuted a lot for being a Jewish kid in a school that was mostly non-Jewish. Yeah, I had a gun pulled on me in Hollywood for a guy assuming that I was Jewish because I was driving my boss's Mercedes to the car wash.
Wow.
So he assumed I was some young...
Where is this growing up?
Yeah, this was in Hollywood. That incident happened in Hollywood, but I grew up in West LA.
Okay.
And the bullies were all over the place there, and it was rough. It was really rough growing up. So when we meet fans and people all over the world who tell us their stories of being bullied for whatever reason, I'm very sympathetic to that because I lived it and it sucked.
And then I find it very interesting because you said one of the ways that you were able to escape bullying was with your voice, when your voice dropped.
Yep.
That's very interesting to me.
I was 12 or 13 years old, and the same guys that would kick out my crutches, we were in the hallway one day, and I had gotten a hall pass, if anybody remembers those things.
Oh, yeah.
And these guys were out there screwing around and picking on some other kid down the hall, and I saw them from around the corner, and I just kind of ducked around the corner. I said, "Boys, go back to class." And, as a 12-year-old with that voice, it boomed down the hall, and the kids... these bullies squealed like little girls and ran. And I thought, oh, maybe I got a superpower here that I'm not tapping into. And I didn't think about it for years, but it came back to me once I started doing voice work. I recalled that story, and it really helped me to help my students at bloomboxstudios.com to overcome these kinds of issues of inadequacy and being the target of bullies. So.
And
Nice.
I think
Good
the
for
way
you.
the way you phrase that, I think is just beautiful. Like that literally is a superpower. You
It
know,
is.
it's
Yeah.
a superpower in itself. I mean,
Yeah.
not only to defend yourself, to defend other people, to come into your own as a man. I think that's amazing. It's and all through the power of your voice, which has made your career, which has made your livelihood. I mean, what better than that?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like a fairy tale story in itself.
It is.
Yeah, that's
and
a
I don't
big,
think
that's nothing but win.
Yeah, it is. And I don't think any of us knew in the beginning. Jim, you might have had a different experience because I started in anime where nobody was watching it except for the super nerds, the underground nerds.
Yeah.
But in the anime world, we never thought anybody was going to watch dubbed anime because the otaku wanted to kill us for doing it. But and in those days when we recorded these original anime shows, they were only available on VHS tape at Blockbuster Video for like $85 an episode. So it's a very small audience for this stuff, and we never thought anybody would be watching these shows at all. We just made stuff that we would have wanted to see. And all these years later, we hear these stories, and Jim, I know you do know this part, where people will say that these characters have saved their lives in some cases or gotten them through horrific things in their lives.
Oh,
that they,
yeah. Some of the stories put you on your knees.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. And so I feel a big responsibility to try to help a lot of these kids through these hard times.
Oh, good for you.
And listen to their stories. It's really
Yes.
important that we listen to their stories at the conventions too, because
Yes.
it's meaningful for them to be able to express that little piece of their life
That's
that they were
right.
able to start healing through this stuff.
Right. Well,
that
it's so gratifying when somebody says, "Well, you helped me through this. You helped me
Yeah.
through that," and you know, Winnie the Pooh has got I've accrued a lot of those heartfelt stories. You know, that just people are touched and they, you know, it gets them through tough times, and
Yeah.
you can't beat that because all we're trying to do in the final analysis is entertain and have a good time and make sure that people, you know, warm their hearts.
Yeah.
And then once you find out that it does that, and then more, it's heaven. It's beautiful.
It's amazing. I have grandchildren now, and
Oh my gosh.
my son was, well, you did a thing
for
for
you.
one of my granddaughter as Winnie the Pooh. She's a huge Winnie the Pooh fan, and
Yes.
he and his wife both said to say thank you for that because Winnie the Pooh's just been such a huge part of their life. They sit and they watch it together. And to be able to voice characters that bring people together like that, where it's quality family time and you're making memories
Yes.
with this character as part of that equation, there's nothing like that.
Yeah.
It's incredible. So thank you for doing that. That was
Thank
amazing.
you.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
I wanted to keep it for myself. Oh, I got Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
It's something cool. Yeah.
Oh man.
Is it true you started before you got your voice acting career off and running? You were in the mail room?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I was a struggling musician back in the 80s. I was in an R&B band. I played coffee houses before that, and then finally I got into an R&B band. And
What do you play?
I was a guitarist,
Guitar player? Yeah.
and not a good one, but I played guitar. I was the only. They wanted to have a semi-white guy, and they said that I could only be in the band because I wasn't really white. I sort of had this orange hue to me, so they said that was okay. I also had a truck and I had a job, so I could cover
the truck
the pay-to-play gigs, and I could haul all the equipment. So
Right,
that's
yeah.
why I was in the
See,
band.
I knew once you said I had a truck, I was like, I know that dude.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I thought we were going to make it big. We had a couple record deals that fell apart, and I really thought we were going to make it. And so I was really struggling to do that thing. And I had to have a day job because, as everybody knows, musicians have a hard time making money most of the time.
Yes, they do.
So I got a job starting at a warehouse for a film company and ultimately ended up in the mailroom there. And really didn't want to go into film at all. It was a small film studio. At that time, it was called Empire Entertainment. We made Ghoulies and From Beyond and Reanimator.
Burbank?
Bunch of those.
Is that in Burbank?
It was, no, I don't think we were in Burbank. We were in Hollywood at the time.
Okay.
We did have one little set of offices up in Burbank for a while, but that was much later on when we became Full Moon. Full
So
Moon
you made
Entertainment.
Ghoulies, like the puppet horror movie Ghoulies? Is that what you-
Ghoulies, yeah.
Wow.
And the Puppet Master movies, all of that stuff.
Wow.
So that was the company I worked for, and I started in the mailroom there as just my day gig. And it was a nice flexible job. And then voiceover came along. I was doing voiceover at night and on weekends, a little bit of music still. And that day job, I stayed there for 14 years, and I ended up becoming an executive. I was head of marketing for the film company.
Wow.
And then I booked the 7-Eleven campaign, and I thought I could quit my job and make $1 million, and that was not the case. I ended up quitting my job and being out of work for a very long period of time. But in that mailroom, in that initial mailroom, there was a guy named Vic Garcia who was casting for a Japanimation project. And it was a thing called the Guyver. It was one of the very first things to come out of L.A., and they needed somebody who could roar. They needed monsters, these creatures called zoonoids. And we were all screwing around in the mailroom all the time. I was the only non-actor in the whole building because everybody in LA wanted to be an actor.
Yes.
I didn't care about acting at all.
Especially in the mailroom.
Oh, in the mailroom, yeah. Who cares?
They were all actors.
Right?
But, I mean,
yeah. And I didn't want any part of that. These guys were all talking about all the shows that they were doing in local theater and, stuff that they were working on, trying to get an agent. I just didn't care about any of that stuff. But he offered me free pizza if I would come to this audition on a weekend.
Wow, now you're talking.
In this guy's treehouse recording studio. It was a rock and roller who built a recording studio in a treehouse.
Wow.
And we all, they brought like 20, 25 of us there to audition. And if we passed the audition, we'd go up into the treehouse and we'd record right there, right then and there. But they were so disorganized. We didn't even have the proper equipment. Everything was still reel to reel back then. They brought in a film Nagra to try to sync everything up. We had to physically carry up the equipment every day because it was all rented. And then they had to try to wire it all up. And meantime, they had to feed us while all this was going on. So all of us were just having a party, eating pizza and having a great time.
Sharing it with the squirrels.
Sharing it with the squirrels, right? So finally I went up for my audition. I was terrified watching all these other actors who kind of knew what they were doing. And I had no idea. And they said, well, all you got to do is look at the creature on screen and roar when he rips the arm off of another creature and beat him with it. What would that sound like? And I went, oh, I can do that. Mm-hmm. And because of the music, I had the timing thing down. That was natural to me. It just seemed melodic and like there was timing that I could actually hit for that. And we didn't have beeps like we have now. We didn't even have time code. They had to tap us on the shoulder when we started recording. Wow. It was very barbaric. But I came in and they just said, well, what would that sound like? And I just looked at it and went, probably something like, and they went, all right, you're hired. I went, oh.
Wow.
And my only question was, do I still get pizza? Because
you have to choose what toppings as well now.
Otherwise, you have to wait till payday.
Yeah. So I never stopped, though. That was my first gig, and they ended up giving me the main bad guy on that show. And I just worked for those guys for years for almost no money. And eventually that led to Cowboy Bebop and then to many, many other things. So,
So Cowboy Bebop was the first kaboom.
That was, well, it took many years because it wasn't popular in Japan when we recorded it. They didn't know what to do with the project. Actually, it was a throwaway thing because they tried to show it in Japan. They put it on the air out of order, so everything was out of context. They didn't quite know how to market it.
Perfect.
And so they said, well, we don't know what to do this. You guys can just have this really cheap. Here's the license fee. And so they bought this thing, and all the directors were really busy with other things. And so they called Mary and they said, well, you've had some directing experience. And she said, in college. And they said, yeah, but, we'd like you to direct this thing. And she goes, all right, what is it? And then we looked at this thing and it was like, oh my God, this is really good. And they gave us time. They just left us alone. We didn't have any of the client in the room with us. It was just me and Mary and the engineer. Oh,
wow. That's great, huh?
And we all worked like that. And so we just took our time and made the show that we literally wanted to see.
Yeah.
And it sat there for a long time. And then a few years later, Toonami came around and we put it on the air on Toonami. And that's when it really hit its audience because Toonami was huge at the time.
Yeah, that was big.
It went to a worldwide audience, English-speaking worldwide audience, and blew up. It was crazy. And so from that point, I started getting a little bit of attention, and it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool the way that happened, and very, very unexpected.
Well, given your pipes, I think, you're certainly not anywhere near limited to animation. I have to believe, because we were thinking about Don LaFontaine earlier, and I have to believe that it's not as big a market now because for some reason they just don't, have those coming to a theater near, those guys.
In a world.
Yeah, in a world.
Yeah.
But I mean, I got to believe you've done well with those trailers.
Nope.
Movie trailers?
Nope.
Insane.
I've knocked on that door for dozens of years. Yeah. And there are a few people who have made very, very good livings at that.
Sure.
But, I just could not crack that nut. There are most of the people who do the bulk of that work through a manager, and I never got a manager. The agents just don't get that copy. They're not. They don't have access to it, and I just refuse to give another 15% because you're giving basically 25% away because you're paying your agent and your manager. I was willing to do it, but not for
only if you get a 25% raise, because that way you're still getting paid.
Yeah.
Oh boy, gotcha.
And they don't. And it was hard to get a +10 on that back in those days too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, they would take it out of your salary. So I would have done it very willingly, and I actually went back and I learned how to do promo and trailer stuff, and I made a demo reel 10 years ago with Chuck Duran, put it out there, and I've done a few things, but it's a really small market for that stuff.
Yeah, well, nowadays, so much more. When I first started, it was there were tons of them, and they were all Don LaFontaine and a few other people. Yeah, but it's just a different critter now. Yeah,
and every studio I went into for commercial stuff, Don had been there already that day in his limousine. And they would just drive him around town, and there would just be a stack of copy that he had burned through in the morning. He had probably made $20,000 before I had gotten there. It was crazy.
Yes, that would be him.
It was amazing. It was just amazing. I heard he was a great guy. I never got to meet him.
Hell of a great guy. Yeah, I kind of knew him well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was over at the place called Davis Glick all the time.
Oh, that's where I was working for Toonami stuff,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All the early Toonami stuff.
A lot of inside baseball here, folks. Hope you don't mind it. But
it's really interesting to hear. Keep going.
Cool stuff.
It was fun. I felt like I was in the presence of greatness when I would walk into that room and just see the stack of Don LaFontaine. Trailer copy.
Well, over there. Well, once I was there, and there was a film crew following him around. They were from London.
Oh yeah.
And I said, "Oh boy, here we go."
You know, and he goes, "Oh, Jimmy, come here, my friend." and he goes, "Give us a little something. Somebody told me that you do me." And I said, "Oh." And the film guys are going, they got the camera going, And I said, "So let me guess, you want me to do you?" And he goes, "Oh, come on. And I went, "In a world." And he goes, "That's really good. Never do that again." You know, and then of course he joked. He's just a great guy. And then he would go and have his popcorn while he did, you know, and he's sitting there crunching. You know, I always would listen to, because you can listen to ABC, CBS, NBC, every station. He was doing the bumpers. He was doing the promos. It was like Don owned the television, and then when you went to the movie theater, he owned all the previews, the coming attractions, and it was yeah. But God bless him, and now he's got his own scholarship fund. Or
sure does,
something.
Yep, amazing.
In perpetuity.
Yep. Yeah, no, I had to do it the hard way.
Yeah.
One job at a time. Very few residuals. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
More video games than anything. So
you've said, Spike, that was the role that gave you the confidence to feel like you were an actor. What was it specifically about that role that helped you overcome those barriers?
Well, I didn't know I was an actor when I was recording Spike. I was just doing it because it was fun. It was the one thing in my life that made me happy, doing the voice work. But I was at a panel many years after it was released and sitting next to Mary, and everybody on that panel was a seasoned, classically trained actor. And the question came up from one of the fans about our training and what it takes to become an actor. And it came to me, and I said, well, I didn't have classical training. I kind of just learned the hard way over the years. So I'm not really an actor. You might want to ask these other guys. And Mary just goes, hold, wait up. And she goes, "What the hell do you think you've been doing for the last decade?" And I said, I don't know, having fun making voices. She goes, "You are a voice actor. You know that there's actor in voice actor? That's what you've been doing, you idiot." And that's when I realized, oh, I'm an actor. Okay, this is what it feels like to be an actor.
You're going with this,
Okay, I didn't have to do Meisner or
Well, Jess Hartnell has a good way of putting it. He said, people say, "Oh, so you only do voices, so you're not an actor." He goes, "Well, I'm a voice actor, but it's a very small V, and it's ACTOR. They're all in capital letters."
Yeah.
So. Yeah. So I hear you.
Yeah. But I just didn't consider myself to be an actor until that moment, and then I realized, I know all the same things that these guys do. I just had to learn it. It took me decades to do it. Yeah.
So true.
And making mistakes. So.
Yeah. and as long as they're paying you.
Yeah.
You know, I always say this is the stuff used to get me kicked out of class, and
Exactly.
now they're paying me good money, and the joke's on Sister Mary Agnes now. I'll tell you what, God rest her soul. So I hear you, brother. Yeah.
She beat my knuckles in, but I beat her ass in joy. So.
Was that your Spike tattoo that I saw before when you held your arm up?
Oh, yeah, this is my Spike tattoo. So that is the wave file for the word bang, which is the last thing he said in the series. And that's from Toon'd. That's what Tom had on his chest from Toon'd.
Ah.
So I have lots of nerdy stuff on me. I wanted to do something that had Wolverine, but I didn't want to do like a Wolverine cartoon on myself. And my tattoo artist was Polynesian, and he had these symbols on his leg that looked like that. And I said, whoa, what's that? And he said, well, that's just a traditional symbol, a Hawaiian symbol. And I said, can you do that on me? Because that's Wolverine, baby, but Polynesian style. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, got all kinds of stuff all over me. That's super nerdy, but not easy to figure out what it is.
Well, that's cool.
Do you still have
Let's
the
go.
Snicks license plate?
I have that in here. I had to change my license plate when I moved to Hawaii, but I got a SNCC license plate frame, and I have Sea Space Cowboy sticker on the back of my car, too.
Oh, man. Now that's cool.
Yeah, but that license plate frame is still in my office here on the other side of that window. So,
Yeah. I had years ago, I used to go around in this big, stupid car. And my license plate was HABMRCY because I'm a blues guy, blues aficionado. Yeah, mercy. Yeah, mercy.
Ow, ow, ow,
That's the
ow.
one.
Yeah.
So that's good stuff.
Ow,
Yeah.
ow.
So what's the next? You're on the road, right? Are you still conventionizing and?
Still conventionizing. I was doing 30 cities a year before I moved here. From LA, it was a lot easier. From here, I cut it down to 15 to 20 now. So I'm on the road every couple of weeks, though.
Oh, that's good.
Generally, but I've actually had 3 weeks off. It was kind of amazing. I was doing them back to back for a while earlier this year. And it's brutal. And I saw
It
you
can
at a
be
couple
tough.
of those. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you
man.
come home and the cat looks at you. And you are, oh, I remember you. You know, so that's a bad sign.
You're the guy with the key to the cans.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you open one for me now? I don't care about the
Yeah.
hugs. Just feed me, you
Yes.
evil human.
Chris, should we do some voice swap?
Oh,
Yes, we shall.
What's voice swap?
time?
We have a game
What is
here.
it? Oh, okay. I like games.
Do you want to explain it, Chris?
I'll explain it this time.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So, Steve, you will do one of your iconic characters. You'll do one of your iconic voices, let's say Spike.
Okay.
You'll do one of his famous voice lines, and then Jim will imitate that voice line, but in a character of his. So say
like that.
Winnie the Pooh.
Okay.
And then we'll do vice versa, back and forth a couple times.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. I have been swearing a little. Is that okay to do on
Oh,
here?
swearing's fine.
Okay.
Swearing's fine.
It's a light word.
as long as you're cussing.
Okay, good. Yes.
Until
Carabast.
YouTube comes down on us.
Yeah, as long
All
as
right.
it's profane.
All right. You ready? This is my favorite
not
line.
Not too vulgar. Not
No,
just
it's
kidding.
not too vulgar. This is my favorite line from all of Cowboy Bebop.
Okay.
I love the kind of woman that can kick my ass.
Okay.
How about bonkers? How about bonkers?
Oh,
Amazing.
Jeez, oh man.
Amazing.
Walt Disney is gonna. Okay.
I love the kind of woman that can kick my ass.
That's
And the show is cancelled.
and good night, everybody.
No, I,
love
feel
that
like
little
that's
bit of
something
spit that
Bonkers would
comes out at
say.
the
I
end.
feel like
Yes.
Bonkers would say that.
He could.
I feel like if Bonkers came out today, I feel like he would say that. It's
A reboot.
acceptable.
He might have had a pet donkey. It's in the Bible. It's
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Can
true.
we get Scar
it was a
saying
pet
that?
donkey. No. Yeah, I don't know. I love the kind of woman that can kickstart my etc. So be prepared. There we go. Oh, that was painful. Okay.
Right, now, Jim, you do a Hondo quote, and Steve, you do it a Zeb.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. Oh, the stories I could tell. So many of them true.
Oh, the stories I could tell. So many of them true. Caravast.
You know what that voice kind of reminds me of? It reminds me of The Boys. What's Carl Urban's character in The Boys?
Yeah.
That voice almost reminds me of that.
I love that show.
Yeah, that is a good one.
We obviously have to get Wolverine in the mix.
Okay. Well,
Do you want me to do a...
here's one for Wolverine.
Okay.
Darkwing Duck says,
I am the terror that flaps in the night.
All right. I am the terror that flaps in the night, bub.
okay.
Oh, with the claw, too.
Be prepared. I listen to my mentors.
Wait, quick intermission before we go on to the next one. Did you see Deadpool Wolverine?
I did.
What'd you think of it?
Oh, my God. I was like a little kid in there. We
Me
were
too.
screaming in the audience. It's so good. It's
Yeah.
so good. Hugh Jackman is my Wolverine, always will be, because I don't want to work out that hard. So I'm way too old.
Yeah. I hear he has a huge Ackman. That's what I heard.
I've heard that too.
But seriously.
Yeah, seriously.
And, Ryan Reynolds. Ryan
Reynolds is okay if you like that sort of thing.
Yeah,
I
if you
love
like
that guy.
that sort of incredible
Amazing.
talent.
Really fun movie.
Yeah, I agree.
No, I support all of the other incarnations of the characters that we do. That's the right thing to do.
Me too.
I thought it was really cool you played the voice of Wolverine in Fortnite. I'm a big Fortnite fan, and I thought that was cool that they gave you. How did that come about? Is it just another thing that comes across the table? Hey, we need you to do this voice, and
You know what's really funny is I didn't know I was doing it for Fortnite.
yeah,
And I just found that out just now. Cause,
Really?
I probably knew then. I forgot. But everything is, it's under a code name when we're
Yeah.
recording. We have no idea what we're working on. So
Yeah,
it
they
was
do
just
that
another,
sometime.
yeah, it's just another
Interesting.
project that Wolverine was on. And
interesting.
I just did it like I always do everything else. And then I go to the conventions to find out what I worked on.
That's really
The
interesting
fans
to
know
me.
all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because my dad, he's playing the new voice of Kratos, and Kratos was featured in Fortnite. And as soon as he found out, I don't know how he found out that it was for Fortnite, he said, "No, you need to offer me a lot more money. I'm not going to do that because I know how big Fortnite
Yeah,
is."
you're making that kind of
and then
money.
so they said, "Okay, well then the character's not going to have a voice."
Yeah.
And so they just went on. They animated the character, never gave him a voice in the cartoon.
Wow.
I mean, in the video game.
Pretty sure I got scale for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to get more than that these days.
Welcome to
Yeah.
show business, I guess, eh?
Yeah. That's okay.
Can you talk about that a little bit? Because that's a conversation that comes up a lot with voice actors. And how does that, I guess,
Yeah.
over the years, how does that not build up to more than scale? Is that just because of the industry? Is that because of what? Because of people that are willing to do it, people that can match the voice? How does, because that doesn't add up in my mind at all.
Right.
All of that comes into play. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Most of the Wolverine I've done in the last 10 years or so, I've been able to get double scale for, fortunately. But many times we can't. And it's up to us to say yes or no at that point. But yeah, they don't care. And every
And
incarnation...
so you personally, sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
you personally, when they say, no, we can't do more than scale, then you're like, okay, I'll still take the part because of the character.
Sometimes, with some exceptions, yeah. And depending on how vocally stressful it is, too. As if it's a vocally stressful character and they're not willing to pay double scale, I'm just not going to do it. It's not worth my time and the pain that we have to go through to do that. But with rare exceptions, most of the work that I've done in my career has been scale. And just because, it's still union, we still get benefits out of it. I'm almost at retirement age. I've made a really good living doing that. But that's why I said I had to do it the hard way, because I did most of my work in video games, which has no residuals at all.
Right.
And so I just did it. I just did as many as I possibly could, and I still do.
Yeah.
I never got that one role that would be the moneymaker, the big bank.
Phil Lamar said a very similar thing.
Yeah.
Phil Lamar said a very similar thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even something like Zeb, I made a little more money on, only because Freddie Prinze Jr. was on the show.
Yeah.
And was able to get us a little bit more money for that. But
nice.
that's the only one. That's the only animated series that I actually made more than scale on.
And
it
should we
wasn't a lot
explain
more.
exactly what scale is? All the people
So,
out there?
yeah, so scale is the minimum amount that they have to pay you if you are with the union, SAG-AFTRA.
Yeah.
And
they
we
get
have
you
very-
for 4 hours.
Yeah, they get you for 4 hours, 2 characters, in some cases 3 characters, depending on the
And then
media.
3 characters, and then you get a 10% bump.
Right. And so that scale payment is it's generally around $1,000, roughly around $1,000, $1,100, something like that. But with that, the producer has to pay a percentage on top of it that goes towards your pension and your health fund.
Pension.
And so it costs them a lot more than just that scale payment, and I understand that, and it does cut into their budgets. However, I can't even tell you how many projects I've worked on where I would go into the room, I'd make maybe $800 or $1,000. A celebrity would come in, they'd make $20,000 for the same amount of work, and when they leave the room, I have to do all their fight sounds because they refuse to do it for no extra money. Yeah, and that's been my whole career.
Yeah. And they'll take advantage of that anytime they can. Every time they can.
Yeah. But I found early on that gratitude goes a long way. And I've had so many terrible jobs and rough careers before this career that it's still the best thing I've ever gotten to do. And I've made a good living at it. I get to live in Hawaii now. I'm working in a studio in Hawaii that I had custom built from doing basically the blue collar work of the industry. We were the pinch hitters of the industry, and I've been doing it the hard way my whole life. But I like working hard, so I don't have any animosity toward anybody for making more money if they can. It just bothers me if people get paid a lot of money and they don't want to do the job, and they get paid the money anyway. And I've seen that happen so many times with some celebrities that really shouldn't be in that room. And it's the producers.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, a lot of times they'll come in, they're kind of mailing it in.
Yeah.
And I had recently one of my old Disney Afternoon characters had, I don't know if I want to call it a cameo. I think he had maybe 4 or 5 lines, and it was in a show. I'm not going to tell you who it was, but it was a very, very famous Broadway type person.
Yep.
And he came in and mispronounced the character's name when he said that it is I, blah, blah, blah. And he mispronounced the damn name. But they got to say, the producers got to say that, well, we had Buppa-Duppa-Doo from, the King of Broadway and everything. And it was just, it's just a smack in the face. And I've had people at conventions go, what the heck? How come you weren't in blah, blah, blah? And who was that? And I said, well, it was a very famous, very rich Broadway type human. Well, why didn't they get you? And I go, they could have. And yes, I would have said the name right. I think that'd be fun. Say the name the way it's pronounced. I don't know. I'm weird that way.
I think you'll find that they say it that way in Europe. If you had traveled, you would know.
Yeah.
We all heard those stories. Maurice LaMarche. Some of the stuff that he comes up with. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Shall we get back to the voice swaps?
Yes, I think
because I really want to hear a Baraka.
Baraka, okay. Barack Obama.
Barack Obama.
Trump quotes Barack.
I'm going to rip your spine out.
Oh, great.
Wait, can you do that again, but with 30% more talent?
Yeah. There you go.
I only go up to 28. Sorry, I can't hit 30.
I'm sorry. I saw that quote from you in an interview, and I had to use that.
I've been directed that way. Yeah, that's great. Just 30 more.
I heard that was one of the most severe voice directions that you've ever got.
Yeah. Is that really what you're going to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Ginny
it's a choice.
Used to say that to me, but thank God she was kidding. Okay, Jim, 30% more talent, babe. Come on, go.
Did you say Ginny?
Ginny McSwain.
Yeah, oh God, yeah.
One of the greats. One of the all-time greats.
Yeah.
Apparently a Baraka quote is, "You really gonna do me like that?"
Oh, okay. I can if you want. You want me to do that?
Oh, boy.
You really gonna do me like that?
Are you really gonna do me like that? I couldn't resist.
Cue the blues track. Let's do Winnie the Pooh.
Don't do me like that.
Yeah.
Poor Pooh sounds so scared and sad.
Oh, God. That's amazing. We need to start a band, Jim. We need to start a band right now.
Yeah. Isn't that
Baraka.
Speaking of bands, you guys are both huge Beatles fans.
That's true.
Yes.
That's very
Both
true.
big Beatles fans, huh? What's your favorite song, Steve?
Oh, how do you pick one?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I couldn't even pick a favorite album.
My child's favorite song is "Baby You're a Rich Man." 6-year-old loves it.
Oh, nice. Well, when my
wow.
kids were little, I used to do what I called concerts in the bath. To get them in the bathtub, I would stick them in the bathtub and I would play Beatles songs for them, so they know.
You didn't
all
hand them
Beatles
the
songs.
electric guitar, though, right?
No, not in the bath.
Okay.
No, that was always acoustic. But their favorite was "Here Comes the Sun." They love that.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That quite often gets played
Little
in what we call
darling.
primary schools, but elementary schools in the States. It's a very popular
Yeah.
song to play for kids. It's just a calming song, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. It really is. Yeah. It's a
I've
happy
got
song.
John Lennon's signature on my arm. It's a tattoo. How nerdy is that? I don't know, but huge Lennon fan.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're the first person to say that's awesome. Everyone goes, "Why'd you do that?" Or they usually go, "Did he write it himself?" That's usually what people say.
No. Well, I wouldn't.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm not going to question that.
Well, okay.
Steve's like, I was thinking that, but I wouldn't have said
I
it.
was. I don't
Yeah.
want to embarrass you.
Okay. True story. I used to be in a band in New Orleans. We were very popular, blah, blah, blah. And so we would hang out at the local, it was like a guitar center, if that rings a bell to anybody.
Yep.
Big, gigantic, huge guitar, drums, bass,
Warehouse
music
place.
store.
Yeah.
And so we would hang out there on Saturdays and Sundays to wait for people to recognize us. And, and so I walk in and the owner of the place was sitting there and he's playing this nasty old bass and he's kind of playing it upside down. And it's an old Fender with the starburst on the back. And I go, what are you doing with that? And he goes, oh, well, the intonation's out. And there was a guy that lived there, that worked there named Paul Williams, I think. And he was in a show band. He had the big, stupid sideburns. It was the 70s. And he was in this terrible show band where they all wore bell bottoms and vests and ruffled shirts. And I said, I thought he played a Rickenbacker. He goes, oh no, he's got a lot of guitars. This is the one he records with. And I said, he doesn't record. What the hell is he going to record? Try a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree again? It's been done. You know,
Well, it
he
was
goes,
Paul
no,
Williams.
no.
It could have been the Love Boat. Who knows?
Well, yeah, but it wasn't that Paul Williams. It was just Wilson or something. and I said, well, what's he doing? Blah blah. And he goes, well, he's recording over at C Saint Studio. No, he's not. He's standing right there. I'm looking at him, and he goes, oh, I'm sorry. This is Paul McCartney's guitar. And he picks it up and puts it in the thing. And I said, no, you don't. And I grabbed it from him, and I turned it around, and there's a big adhesive, just like every other rock and roll guy you've ever seen, big gigantic square of adhesive tape to protect the guitar from your belt,
right.
your belt buckle, and of course it's upside down. So I grab it, I swear to God, and I got the strings, and I went on my forehead, I was trying to steal magic out of the strings.
Oh my God.
Like an idiot, and he goes, what are you doing? I'm stealing magic. Shut up. And I said, all right, you can. Oh, okay, I can't smell anything. Damn it. And
I would have been licking the pickups, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
That was next.
Wow.
They had to wrestle it out of my hands, but that's my story.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's not a bad
Wow.
story.
I would have had the same reaction. I
Yeah,
would have done
yeah.
exactly the same thing.
Yeah, it was going down my pants next. He got me in the nick of time. He got me in the nick of time. I can tell you that.
Oh my God. I
So-
do have a guitar from Sarah Levy, who was a guitar player for Eric Clapton.
Oh, wow.
And she changed her name to Marcella Detroit and started performing. And we were at a charity auction thing, and she forgot to put the guitar into the auction. So it was sitting there afterward. And I said, what's that? And she goes, oh, this company made them for me. I've got 3 of them. I didn't need it, so I was going to donate it, and I forgot. And I said, oh, wow. I said, would you consider selling that
You
at
can
some
still
point? And she goes, how
donate
much
it.
you got in your pocket? And I said, I don't like $300. And she goes, here. And she signed it for me. I have it in my office right over here.
Wow.
No way.
Yeah. It's
How
not a
cool
great
is that?
guitar, but huh?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool. So that's my one celebrity guitar that I have.
Yeah. Does she
That's
know
really
Paul
cool.
McCartney? No, I'm just
Probably.
yeah.
I bet she did,
Probably,
because
yeah.
she worked on so many
Could
of
be.
Clapton's records, and
Yeah.
and he was friends with Harrison, so
Yeah.
until he wasn't, yeah, and then they were again, I think.
Yeah. Oh man. Well,
Yeah.
Steve, thank you so very much for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. Are we
Yes,
done? This is it? Oh my
I don't
God.
know.
It went by so
I was
fast.
trying to figure it out. I think
we were going so long, I had to change the batteries in my camera. I was like, quick.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, sorry. Yeah,
No.
sorry. I just love hanging out with you, buddy. It's so much fun to see
Hey,
you.
same here. Do you have anything you want to announce? Where you're going? What you're doing? What you're working on?
When does this air?
This will be up in 2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks. Okay, I'll be long gone from there. So, I got a bunch of other conventions. You can find my convention schedule on my website at steveblumvoices.com.
Yeah.
My school is still happening if you're interested in voiceover at Bloomvox Studios.
And people can do this online.
They can. It's on
Links
Zoom.
in the description of this video. You can find the links.
Bloomvoxstudios.com. We got a bunch of amazing stuff coming up. Jim was one of our guest teachers on there.
Yes, it was beautiful.
He's in the
you do
archives.
cameos?
I don't anymore.
Okay.
No, because they started using AI for some of their cameos, and it put some
No,
of my
you're
friends,
kidding.
started putting some of my friends out of work. So
You're kidding me.
as revolting as I am, I revolted, and I said I'm not doing any more until
This
you
is
guys
the
stop
first
doing
I've
it.
ever heard of that.
In what way? So what were
I
they
have
doing?
questions. Yeah.
Well, there's a friend of mine. I don't want to call him out because it might get him in trouble. But basically, he was doing a major character on a currently running animated series, and the network contacted him and said, "You can't do cameos anymore." And he said, "Well, why?" And they said, "Well, we just made a deal with Cameo, and we're going to be using AI and doing this real-time animation for $20 a pop."
That's disgusting.
And they said they sent him a cease and desist order. He couldn't do it on Cameo anymore, and he couldn't even do it at conventions live at panels.
What?
And it ruined a big percentage of his career,
Sure.
financially. And so I said,
Wow.
Until you guys stop doing that nonsense, I'm out. I don't want to do it anymore.
That is nonsense.
So,
That's
yes,
complete nonsense.
Yeah, so I'm not doing that anymore. But I do stuff through Streamly.com. They have signings from time to time. I sign all day long at panels. And,
that's great.
But we do stuff once a month live at Bloomvox Studios, and we bring in the best of the best, like Jim. And Bob Bergen's going to be our next guest coming up.
Good.
And it's just really good people that you know and love, and you can learn from them. So that's my big push.
Right on.
To
Fantastic.
get people on a good path and keep them away from the predators.
There you go.
Like AI.
Right.
Yeah, like AI.
So
is
before
right.
you head off, I think you need to give us one good bang, right?
Yes. All right. You ready? Here we go. See you, Space Cowboy. Bang.
Yes.
I love it. I love it.
Yes.
And kill it and recast.
And done. No.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching another episode of Tuned In with Jim Cummings. Once again, I'm joined by Brendan Dando. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. And of course, the legend Jim Cummings. And of course, our guest today was Steve Blum. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We are at 90,000 subscribers on YouTube. We are trying to get that plaque by the end of the year, the 100,000 subscriber plaque. So please, please, please subscribe. We appreciate all your support. And of course, you can find bonus content on Patreon, watch-alongs, interviews, all additional extended interviews, all that good stuff. And of course, you can find this podcast anywhere where you listen to your podcasts. Once again, Brendan Dando, Jim Cummings, the legend, and today we're joined by Steve Blum. We will see you guys in the next one. Stay tuned. Thank you very much.